Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 9 of the build guide 2. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for all the support last time out. You guys really much enjoyed our experiment in kind of layering networks and new tram networks that we can play with now, and really nice to have trains into the city for the first time, isn't it? Really busy as well. So thank you for all the support on the episode, and indeed the series as a whole. It's pretty insane, to say the least, the growth on the channel at the minute these days. So thank you so much. It's all down to you guys liking and commenting. It all helps grow. So since last time, we have actually run over the next milestone. We have actually now hit 15,000 big city, which does give us a new tile. So I'm going to open this one because today's project is going to be quite a lot of fun indeed. We're going to bring these networks over to this waterfront here, develop a nightlife waterfront district. We're going to do a little switchback road pattern with our one-way network as it comes up, as we have a new castle to respect. And then I'd also like to start introducing, well, for the first time, really testing the idea of a pedestrianised river walk that runs for a long way. I want to see just how much use it gets, and we'll probably bring it down to this rail line, I imagine, eventually. But of course, there's a lot of builds to fill this space yet. But today, we're going to do some nightlife waterfront stuff, some really cool network layering, and lots of detailing. Should be a fun episode today. Let's get started, shall we? Okay, so when I'm growing into a new area, and it's taken me a while to kind of figure this one out, to be honest. I know a lot of people say like, oh Egg, we love everything you make, it's always nice, but it doesn't always come out like that. Sometimes it takes a little bit of finagling, to say the least, I think. So something that helps me is when I'm looking to expand into a new area, I would like to just follow each network and give it its own sort of detail and personalization. That's what I'm going to start doing with these keys here, right? We want to be running nice long stretches with these keys, bring them up to about there, should be good for me, and then we can start our pedestrian riverwalk park from here, and then of course it'll loop around the bottom of the castle and over the hill and far away. Cool, so that is one network taken care of. I'd now like to grab this network here. So currently it's the 4-lane decorative with cycle lanes. Now we do have cycle infrastructure on this side here, and I do want to change the bridge. So I think at this point we're going to dive into a content creator road, and I'm going to use the European 4-lane stone road. It's going to give us a nice little sort of different textured pavement here. You can see the difference between vanilla and content creator, right? And I think we're going to use this. Okay, so let's come on to our road guidelines. We're going to start bringing this down. First of all, I want to line it up with the key itself. Let's go for there for right now. Hopefully just a little freeform curve here now. We'll see everyone through. There we go. So again, I'd like to bring a bridge over here now if possible. So let's come on to our smaller elevation steps. We'll knock a little bit of key back here. And then let's just see if we can find a happy point for this to go over. Are you just going to send here? Let's come off the guideline here and make sure we hit that road length. So I like the little humpback bridge. And I think it's kind of the perfect stone texture to run with that castle, isn't it? Perhaps maybe this was the old way into the castle. And now it's been sort of repurposed into obviously an actual road, but they've left a lot of the old stone that was here maybe. That's a very nice pairing, isn't it? I don't think we can refuse that one. A huge fan of that one, I think, everyone. I think we'll go for that. Right, and then this needs to now descend. Let's come back down here, and then you can hopefully just meander off and into this space, and eventually hook in with this rail network and explode into our downtown road network frame at some point. Alright, tremendous. So we've also got trams here as well. I would like to factor a tram layer into this build too, if at all possible. So let's go ahead and curve around here. That's going to be alright, is it? Am I happy with that? This might be a little bit sharp there. We'll sort that in the detail time lapse though. At least it's connected for right now, okay? I love the humpback bridge though over the river. Very appropriate with the castle, isn't it? Quite on brand, I think. Cool. Alright, so now let's come back into our other networks. I just want to make sure we've got a lot of nice flat room knocking around here. And then I'd like to start bringing in those one-way cycle roads now. So let's go ahead and grab them into their original structure. Now this is going to come through here, so we're going to do some really cool switchback stuff with these in a second. And we'll give ourselves a little more breathing room to let that happen, but we'll come on to that in a minute. And then I'd like to narrow the one-way flow here at the minute. So for the entire duration of this road here, it's been 4 tiles. So we're going to narrow it now down to 1 tile. So that now narrows our one-way flow system. This guy will get police eventually, of course, it's because he's growing on the other way. Alright, but this is okay for me so far, I think. Right, let's trim back a little bit of it, and then we'll bring these guys up to the same playing field. Now let's do some sloping. So I'm going to come in and grab my slope tool and let's right click the top height we want to slope to, which is going to be this one. And then it's come to a medium brush and I just want to start sloping up this hill here. Okay, nice and wide. Sell some soil if we need to. Right, and then we'll just get this nice sort of switchback lane coming up here, right? We'll chisel out a lot more than we need to. We'll also start bringing in our first internal passenger trains as well today. And now this suburb can expand out this way. We've got room to do it. Cool. So that should be good enough for me. Let's go ahead and remove that forest just so we've got a clearer idea of exactly what's happening here. Okay, so let's just grab our freeform tool now. I just want to start bringing in some sharper curves. Let's go straight for a little bit first, yeah. Maybe not that much though. And then we'll do some big set curves here. Let's go for a 10 curve. Okay, and then we'll do another freeform movement, and I kind of want to eye these up now because I know what I want to happen with them. I want them to now sort of run straight and eventually converge into a large 6-lane road that goes over the river and into, again, downtown Orchid Bay once it comes to exist, alongside the train line that will also follow it out here as well. So it's a big network project, but it's nice to sort of plan in and envision exactly where these guys are going to end. So now I just want to match those curves and measurements with the tools, hitting those road guidelines when we can. And then before we know it, everyone's going to be happy. Just maintain that 1 tile distance between all these networks. And everyone should remain friends as we come up. There we go. And of course, don't forget to switch the direction once you're happy with the configured network. And what that should give us is a really cool sort of switchback one-way pattern as it comes up the hill here. And you can imagine what this is going to look like once it's in and it's busy and it's sort of vibrant and alive. It's going to be really cool. I'm very much looking forward to seeing that happen. Cool. So let's continue to develop the networks before we move on to some building today. So let's just extend these frames very briefly so we know exactly how much room we have to play with the train line. Yeah, we definitely want to be careful there where we're getting some dimensional tearing. Probably just want to let all this breathe a little bit more actually. A little bit of softening around here would be welcome. Okay, so I'm happy with this. Let's now return to the idea of this elevated tram stop. So let's grab our pedestrian roads. We'll grab the bluestone or cobblestone I think we used for this, wasn't it? I'm never going to remember which one that was. And then, again, I just want to eye this up really on the other side of the river first. If we can hit the same guidelines and curves here, it would be nice if that's possible. There we go. I'm really looking forward to seeing all these parallel networks come into play. It's going to be really cool once we get it all in, I think. I definitely don't appreciate the hump quite as much in the tram network here. And then we can probably bring it straight across there, right? That's going to be happy, cool. So let's delete the hump, alright? And then we just want to move out at increments, probably with no snapping on here. To the point that we're happy with the way that the tram network flows. I don't want this one to be quite as curvy or as, I guess elegant is the word, as the bridge here, because it's, I guess, a sort of a new modern network. It wouldn't be as oldie-wildy as that one, I guess, right? Cool, so that elevated tram section can now continue across our waterfront. Again, it's going to look quite garish at the minute. It's going to take a little while to come together, this build, while we're just sort of working with sort of raw, undercooked networks, if you like, right? But it'll get there, right? The dish will come together as always. Cool, so nice straight networks now. Can probably even extend this bridge out a little bit more if we wanted to. And also probably bring the height down a little bit too, if we like. But we'll configure that in our time lapse. The important thing is now that it flows. And then this is going to need a lot of slope in here. So let's bring this pedestrian pathway. Where's your appropriate sort of back down to earth spot? About there, isn't it? Okay, so let's then grab the slope tool. We will select the slope where the tram starts. And then we'll push it out and then just make room. Let's go into a larger brush here too. Let's push all this out. And again, we can develop this into some sort of tidier, nicer green belt space now as well. We can have that go up there. That's a very dodgy though, isn't it? Can we really tell that sort of squiggliness? We really can. That's very strange, isn't it? It's very weird. Let's not do it for the full length then. Let's bring it down on like a very straight angle. And then we'll connect in and that should avoid any dodginess that happens. So we're now starting to get this really cool waterfront space open up. Layers are coming in, of course, all the ideas that we've picked up since we've been following the build guide. So I'm happy with these initial networks here now. Let's start zoning and placing some districts and we can see what starts to grow. Okay, so we've named today's build, or at least this part of the build, Freyden Square, after one of our wonderful Patreon subscribers, Freyden, of course. Thank you for all your support, Freyden, and your never-ending love of Fanta Fruit Twist. I do appreciate you, mate. And we hope you enjoy this build after you today. So, let's go into our unique buildings. Okay, I always love a unique building, especially when we're working with the waterfront. So let's grab ourselves a plaza just to start the build off with. Why don't we go for a lazarette plaza, right? And again, I want to sort of, not massively bothered about sort of symmetry here, but I definitely like some sort of centralization within the waterfront, so we're pretty much in the middle here, I think. Cool. So, we've got one-way networks going here. Let's make sure that we continue to actually respect that one-way flow. I'd like to do that, if possible, by coming down here. That's going to be good. So let's do that, right? Do the same thing here. It's going to roll length again too. And then we just want to box this in. Cool. So that one-way network will continue to flow. Also gives everyone access over here too. We'll worry about utilities as well. Okay, so this is nice so far. So I also think service assets work really nicely as part of like major waterfront builds. So definitely like to factor those in before we do any sort of zoning. So let's grab ourselves a house, well not a house, a school rather. It's quite different to our house. Why don't we have this here, alright? I think I'm happy with that. And then can we get any plazas here, I wonder? Maybe some plazas and promenades plazas. That's going to fit pretty nicely in there, is it? I think we'll have a bit of that. Cool. So we'll place in a plaza. Let's give our district some specializations. So commercially, I definitely want leisure. Lots of nightlife down here by the water. Good times to be had, etc. And then in terms of office, I think we're actually going to go... It's interesting, we'll go for financial districts, but that's not the vibe here. I think we're going to go office wall to wall, because we do have a decent amount of industrial demand at the minute. And I'm thinking that I'd prefer that to be matched with office zone in here. And I think wall to wall might look nice against this waterfront. I guess we'll find out together. Okay, but this is nice so far. I think I'm happy with this. We've got those specializations in now, so let's start zoning up a little bit. Let's get some in here. Let's not be afraid of a little bit of office zoning as well. We are going to have to be careful with exactly what sort of offices come in here, because it could get very ugly very quickly, so we'll have to be careful. I'm not averse to some of the Japanese assets down here as well, you know, some of these little sort of low-rise offices. We have some low density here. Again, we could also turn this into wall-to-wall residential as well. Perhaps if we want some funner-looking apartments and condos here. I do like these though, I think I can appreciate these. I think some of these still need making historical, don't they? Yes, they do. Yes, you will receive garbage now this road has a connection, don't worry. And everything else down here will eventually grow up too. Otherwise, I'm happy just to see what comes in. This is great stuff over here, right? I love these little props that come out the back. We definitely want lots of those. Let's get some parks down here too, right? Let's keep the sort of general good times and recreation going. Let's get a couple of basketball courts down next to each other, perhaps. Cool. I'm not averse to a little bit of walkability behind all this stuff here as well. Looks like we can possibly squeeze into a grid snap there and destroy a little bit of office zoning. Yes, we can. And then we'll keep this running down here and behind. Tremendous. I'd also love a bit of commercial here too, so we definitely want our trams to stop here now at some point as well, because this will be quite a busy little point for them to stop, I imagine. I bet this is going to get quite a lot of walkability. So, yeah. That seems pretty nice to me, right? And then I think with a little bit of softening on some of this really awkward terrain we've got knocking about, we can just smooth it out a little bit, which will make getting pathways down here a little bit easier. So again, we can probably do a couple, can't we? Let's get that grid snap. And then we'll come down here and just find a little happy meander point to come back down onto this way. Same thing over here again as well. Some happier curves in there as well, so not everything's so straight and rigid. And I definitely like... Oh, I don't know. It's quite hard actually. I don't know where I want that to go. That particular pathway. Okay, we'll have to wrap up some of our roads here as well in terms of just getting everything connected. So this is coming along, right? It's growing up. Got some office space here now. Make sure that we are happy with what's coming in terms of wall to wall. Yeah, that's some like low-rise happiness here, isn't there? I think. Although you're a little strange one, aren't you? Why don't we replace you with a little bit of nightlife zone in there? Don't really want these chungus boys in either. Lots of this I'm very happy with, these little bars and saloons here and stuff. Let's trim that zoning back a little bit too. And all that is perfect, I think, isn't it? That's really nice. I'm super happy with that. That's wonderful. We don't need to historicalize these, of course, because there's only one level of them. Okay, but this is fun so far, I think. I'm not massively hating what's going on. Let's have a little look at this central square here. So we could throw in another unique plaza here. You could go and grab anyone you want to. It's not going to sit centrally, but probably one of them will eventually if you keep browsing the various plazas. There you go. What's that one? The Fountain of Life and Death would sit perfectly in there. But I don't really just want two plazas. I think I'd rather build a little bit of custom sort of park space here. So let's come into our plazas and let's grab ourselves a small fountain plaza. Well, perhaps that's going to work quite nicely apparently. We'll have that there. Cool. Into our park life stuff, and then we'll grab perhaps an info booth to sit on this corner there. That's going to suit me quite well, I think. I think a cafe as well down here would be most welcome. Again, it's all starting to blend in. A pathway there would work wonders, I think, wouldn't it? Let's do that as well. We can throw that in there. And then why don't we dive into Nature Reserve and perhaps grab a little campfire site number 1. And then maybe we can just make a little sort of communal bonfire maybe down here by the waterfront. Imagine people come and sit here with their own little barbecues and maybe a few drinks at night and have a nice time. And then maybe we can also have a look at some fun park hedging, right? It's always a nice time, isn't it? Stick a bit of linear fence fill on, something like that. And then maybe like a fun tree just to round things out. Would a live oak be too dominant here, I wonder? No, I think I can appreciate that. Little communal bonfire next to our plaza now. There's also a fountain plaza in there as well, info booth and a cafe. I think just a little look at a square within a plaza space and you can fill it with quite literally infinite variations of all the park and plaza assets that we have now. This is quite annoying. We're getting all of these buildings in with all of their props. This is very sort of, I mean, I love a repeated pattern, but just don't want one here particularly. Right, let's mix and match some other shapes in here as well. We'll sort of do like a mixed use waterfront, right, office and nightlife. That's someone there. Keep watching it grow out. We also, of course, want to make our keys walkable, so let's factor that in as well. Let's come down onto our beach here, or actual riverfront rather. There we go. We just want to connect them at the pedestrian crossings. I can't imagine this. Actually, to be fair, the key will probably get more use now the cycle lanes have gone. Because earlier the cycle lanes just seemed to siphon everyone off the quay and onto the road, which is fine. And again, there's someone cycling or someone walking down here now, so yeah, getting a small amount of use at least. But hopefully we'll now see more use. There we go, there's a person already coming down. Fantastic. It's just how much of a difference does a walkable quay make? Goodness gracious, everyone. Again, Bridges and Piers content creator pack if you're missing the walkable seawall keys. That's certainly worth getting. Cool, so we can see repeated tree patterns and little sort of mini gardens around here, but we're now starting to have this really fun waterfront starting to form up, right? We definitely just want to keep our eye on those wall-to-wall offices before they get too gnarly. There we go, finally got a different asset in, that is perfect, I love that. And maybe, I kind of love that, you see it's like it's made us a little beer garden out the back, isn't it? Just by growing like that, can we get a tree? Oh, we can as well. I can't say no to that, that's like a happy beer garden, isn't it? That's perfect. You see there? That's why we want to be careful, right? I think I can bear with that. It needs historical in there, doesn't it? Let me know what you think of the slightly taller tower down by the waterfront. Everyone, does it work? I think I can get away with it. Cool, but either way, let's hop up onto the hill now, have a look at the bridge over the river, the pedestrian pathway, and then the train line that I want to add into this area too. Okay, so I'd like to start bringing in a train from our train station that we put in last episode. So again, this line that separates here now is going to become exclusively internal trains. Every station that is down this line will have intercity trains banned from it, which of course means that they won't be able to ever flow down this line, so it becomes an internal line. And then we can use one of the platforms here as a convergence for all the intercity trains that are dropping passengers off here. Because it's so busy. It's so much fun to look at. Goodness gracious, everyone. Oh, I need to get on with recording the episode. We can't stop watching this. So good. Ah, you know, I think Orchid Bay is set to be one of the most walkable cities we're ever looking at. Considering, like, this is near enough Noob Yoke levels of walkability that we experienced, and we're only at 15k population. Like, it's nuts. There's just so many people walking and cycling, using public transport. So really cool to see kind of, you know, that thought process we had right at the start of the series that we want the city to be really focused on public transport and sort of like really heavily integrated into the arterial frames, and hopefully we're doing that now with all these tram networks and stuff. Anyway, before we do the road, let's come up with that 4-lane because we need to extend this as well. We can bring in a lot more frames here now. We can start running a little parallel feature next to this one-way network, of course, which is feeding down here. There's many builds to have here. I think we definitely want to do an episode on intercity buses next time. I think there's possibly a happy little space for an intercity bus plaza knocking around here somewhere. Yeah, also extended the hillside housing around the edge of Mad Mountain as well. I thought, you know, everyone was on board with it in the comments. I thought so. Just to get that residential demand in, we've now just extended it across the hill, and I think around the other side, we will also do green cities on this side of it, I think. Yeah, but yeah, I love that layered tiered housing on the hillside there using mid-century modern. Wonderful stuff. Okay, so anyway, let's not get distracted with houses. Let's bring our rail in. I think that's where I want it. Let's just amend that one there. There we go. And then we can probably bring this in now. We'll have to do a slight curve, I think, just so we're not totally straight. But definitely want it to just sort of veer off here as it comes back out of the station. And then hugs that road back that way. Very peculiar about that for some reason. I know exactly what I want that to look like for some reason. And then we'll bring this down and across, removing any roads that are in the way. Cool. And then once we know our train line is in, we can let that take priority, and then our suburbia frame can now float around it. Wonderful. Okay, so let's get a train flowing here. Let's also extend the district up of James Redwoods. We'll be able to boundary this district now. Probably just up until there will be fine. Go ahead and get some of that more residential in. Let's keep the population growing. All through here as well. Maybe a little bit of commercial knocking about in and around the lines itself before a D-turn time. That makes it look a little bit better, hopefully. And then you can probably come out of here if it wasn't for that annoying glitch with them. I think we won't do that though. I think actually what we will do there is just save that for some green space straight out the station. I don't think anyone's going to be massively upset with that. So let's set our new line. So we definitely want to use this platform here. And then we're going to come out, and this will eventually now run as a commuter train into downtown New York. Let's make sure we select the right platform though. Cool. Yeah, so that runs from there to there. That's great. Can we find the train? Is it here? There we go. There it is. That's the one we want. Let's change the model. Let's go for the commuter train. And hopefully we'll see that spawn in at some point here in a second. You okay, commuter train? There we go. Yeah, so we'll just have this now run through our suburb here. And then into downtown Orchard Bay, which will be tremendously exciting. Of course, there'll be pretty much no one using this right now, I imagine, but it will get busier. So now let's return to the idea of that bridge. So we've got a pretty gnarly descent here. So again, I'd like that river walk. Let's start mapping that out now. So let's go ahead and grab our cobblestone with trees in the middle. And I'd like to start bringing in this little park somewhere. So let's see where we can go. Is there a chance of cutting straight across here? There is. We definitely want to do that, and also turn off this particular light here as well. And then I'd like to use this pathway here as the start of our pedestrianised river walk that flows for a considerable distance. Just going to have it meander around the bottom of the castle. Again, please get name suggestions for this castle down in the comments below, alongside some lore to accompany it if you wish. You guys are very much enjoying piecing the story of Orchard Bay together, so you can by all means carry on. Right? Cool, yeah, so there's this little river walk now respecting the castle, which would be really cool. And then we can bring it just right along the river and pretty much just want it to run parallel with it. And yeah, just a little sort of interesting AI experiment here. I wonder, you know, once all this is filled up with suburbia and more builds, we can definitely get some pedestrian sort of bridges back into across into downtown Orchard Bay eventually too. Which will be so busy, you imagine, right? All that walkability, the trams are going to carry and go in, the bike network, the one-way system. Really looking forward to seeing it. It should just hopefully slowly come to fruition, right? We hope so. Anyway, let's grab a 6-lane number. Probably just a regular 6-lane here will be fine, actually. I guess we could do it with cycle lanes on it. So let's line up between the two guidelines, and I think probably just a single elevation step here is going to be fine for getting over the river. Make sure we're up by 3. That should see us through any problems. I'll match it. Let's go for, is that 30 units there, is it? That's going to give me like a perfect suspension bridge in the middle. That's fine by me. And then I think I'd actually like to keep this elevation going for maybe 30, 40, possibly 50 tiles before we bring it back down. And then eventually we can have maybe some little mid-rise offices right next to this bridge, and it'll have a really cool framed view. And of course this suspension arch as well, it eventually is going to become part of our skyline. So very exciting, right? To always start planning in some large networks like that. So also grab those one-way networks again, and then we can now round out this system. Now we can do the freeform curve on that bridge. It should be a lot nicer. So that's the way that we will merge our one-way unit into one. It's 3 lanes either side going into 6 with those cycle lanes being respected. We definitely just want to downgrade this section here into grass though, so we don't get the trees poking through the bridge there. That's going to be great as well, you know, seeing the Sims walk under this bridge, because this will get quite busy, I imagine. And then we can feed it off into here, and people will snake down and back into the one-way loop. It's going to be great. Really looking forward to it. And then it looks like there's also room for expansion here. I'm kind of really want to move this pathway. It's kind of in the way. Yeah, I kind of just want to accentuate this layer here now between the S-bend in the one-way system. So we can just bring down some more green cities housing, because these guys are going to look really nice kind of perched over this square here. So we'll do that as well. And then hopefully all of that is within the same district for James Redwoods, who has an enormous suburb now. The Redwood suburb is huge. Absolutely enormous. We'll have to bring some more Redwoods in here to do that. We got a little bit of noise pollution. Are you still too close? Yeah, I did do in a little bit of high density here, but it's just a little bit too close to the station, isn't it? High density is a little bit more resistant, but looks like he is just too close. Oh, I really don't want to lose that tower though. Is there any way we can just... There we go. Just wanted a few more live oaks. There you go, that's a prime example of how the trees will suppress the noise pollution. It does work. Right? Cool. So we can't keep that in there. Just taking a fresh second here, everyone, to appreciate the kind of flow of this one-way configuration. So, you know, we started out a roundabout here, and we now split off into a little configuration here, and it remains sort of perfectly equidistant, always respecting that 4 tiles, right? When it comes to our transport hub here, which is just increasingly busier every single week, especially now the trains are hooked in nearby. And then we come down against all this just mega walking pond. It's so good. Just all the way through here, and then these layers kicking in from last episode now as well. Just wonderful. Really, really nice. And then we come over here, and then it comes down, and this of course needs detailing today, which we'll do in a second. And then it narrows, and then sort of comes together, and it flows through Freyden Square, and then up and sort of switches back onto the hill where it intersects with another train station, and then into its first sort of merged connection into downtown. So I'm just really enjoying watching all the different networks of Orchid Bay grow out. We've got some really fun things to do over here as well, which will be a fun one. Let's detail up our nightlife office waterfront, and then we'll be right back. guys, let's have a detailing review. So this waterfront now just really come together. Love the combination of wall-to-wall office and nightlife. That's a really nice sort of combo specialization for a district. Either way, I love our office here. And our waterfront has now developed as we come in. Also dropped in this asset right here, which is the police station that comes with the Hearts of Korea content creator pack. It's just a nice little small police station, and there's a little bit of crime around here, so I just threw that in during the detailing time-lapse. And then I decided that the tram line here, it was really blocking the sight lines, that kind of old humpback bridge here, which I really wanted to keep in. So decided that that would remain, just moved it onto the other side of that bridge, so the trams now float over here. And of course, all this will develop within time. And also a little bit more wall-to-wall here as well with the pathway, which people are now using. And then we arrive into this little centre up here with a really nice combination. Now lots of little like beer gardens knocking around the plaza, and little bars and places to eat and sit, and a load of people walking and cycling as well on all layers. It's just so nice. I love seeing all the people just walking around here, all down from this tram interchange up here, well, tram stop rather. That has now been detailed and brought in and amongst the expanded Green Cities district, which has now been detailed itself with forest lining. Love this sort of sight line as well here, how the trams sort of like emerge out of this like forest line pedestrian road. It's really fun. And let's just have a quick glance as well at how busy this line is. As every episode now we're seeing these trams getting closer to their capacity, which is really good. So possibly due a tram upgrade vehicle on this one soon. We're using the 72 capacity one at the minute, so probably go up to 105 after this one maybe, because it will need to carry more people. Then as we come down the main avenue now, the split one-way cycling system, we come under that tram road and then enter a little fence with this forest that now flanks the sort of sides of the castle up to the pedestrianised riverwalk. Then just got a nice little switchback here. Absolutely love the switchback design coming up the hill. You get a real nice sense of it here, sort of looking at it from the grander scale. Really happy with it. A little bit more wall-to-wall office in here as well, actually, which sits quite nicely in with the Creative Arts Institute, I think, doesn't it? Really happy with that. Then we've got a little pathway here that pops up back into the green suburb before we merge back into that green belt that we talked about. That is just some pathway and some open green fields. As we enjoy some Green Cities commercial around the foot of our content creator train station, which makes a world of difference, right? It's a really nice combination. Green Cities and Bad Peanuts train stations just work really nicely together. And then I just wanted to kind of give a more obvious boundary and edge to this suburb now, because this will be the edge of the James Redwood suburb. We can finally move into a different theme now as we grow into these spaces now that this area has all filled out. And our train line here has 20 people so far travelling back onto it. And like we said, you know, we will keep this as a commuter line into downtown eventually. It will converge probably with this rail line here. And then we'll feed an intercity and one of our internal train connections into the downtown, which will get a lot of use hopefully. So we can look forward to some busier train activity. Really looking forward to this as well. So decided to bring up the pedestrian roads parallel with the bridge. Had to flatten the bridge a little bit on the ground beforehand, because the pedestrian roads won't connect into a bridge segment. But this is really wonderful. You can see where I've actually forgotten to upgrade a few of those trees there. That's what I wanted it to look like. There you go. So we had the idea of running the boreal pine sort of pathways down to really frame that bridge, right? And you can imagine once this has towers behind it, this will definitely be one of the nicest sight lines in the city. And then also prepared that train bridge to cross over the river as well. So we're starting to see much sort of grander, cooler networks come into fruition now. It's also really interesting to see that the cyclists will prefer to actually come all the way down here and then come all the way back up, rather than just crossing here because it's a cycle lane. It's like they'll rather do the extra distance and just go that way. So kind of an interesting sort of visualization there, right, of how the AI will... well, there you go, not all the time it would appear, right, because he just went across. Interesting. I wonder what the criteria for that is, because it's... Some cyclists will jump across. Like this one right there, you see that? But others want to loop all the way around for some reason. I wonder what causes that to happen. Let me know if you know that in the comments. And I'm just so happy with how this like little green area has pieced together. Like last episode and today's episode has really rounded out possibly my favourite sort of design in the city so far, as we've developed this kind of chiseled out waterfront with unique buildings and residential and a little switchback one-way system here that's just getting busier and busier, and we're starting to see some larger networks now make themselves known. That little suspension arch is great over there, isn't it? And we have also mentioned as well, or named, this area over here, kind of the sub-waterfront with the high density, to be Wadey Waters, after our wonderful subscriber Kaz Wadey, so thank you for your support as well. And indeed for everyone else, the support's just crazy on the channel at the minute. Otherwise guys, that is going to do it for today. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. If you've enjoyed it, likes, comments and shares below really help bring more people to the channel and show these videos to more people that might enjoy them. Equally as much if you haven't enjoyed it, please feel free to leave a dislike as well. Thank you for all the ideas and suggestions. I know that Jason has just shouted out in today's video, which was last episode, that he wanted to see the switchback road that we've done today tunneled under the castle ruins, but I felt the switchback was just a little bit cooler. Those nice parallel networks weaving down the mountain with all the cycle lanes is just fantastic. Please do enjoy some cinematics. This place has become insanely walkable with all the pedestrian pathways and public transport around, so lots of satisfaction to be had. Otherwise, I will shut up and leave it there. And let's thank you all so much for watching. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.